You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. I am your host, Chamunda Beng. Let's talk numbers. We're starting off with the stock market as of 6 a.m. this morning. You're welcome back to Business Daily. Once again, my name is Chamunda Beng. Now, to remove subsidy or not to remove subsidy, that is the question. Now, the issue of subsidy is more or less like a double-edged sword. Subsidy exists to cushion harsh economic realities for the masses and enhance cost of living. However, it has cost the government trillions in naira. For example, the government loses 1 trillion naira yearly on fuel subsidy. And when it comes to electricity subsidy, the government used to spend 30 billion naira. But as a result of changes in the electricity tariff, the cost has dropped by 20 billion naira. Now, if subsidy is removed from electricity, it could save the Nigerian government up to $2 billion. Well, a few days ago, the International Monetary Fund called on the federal government of Nigeria to completely remove fuel and electricity subsidies early next year, as the financial institution described it as regressive. But the question is, how will it affect Nigerian businesses and the final consumer, which is the masses? Now, joining me in the studio to talk about the removal of subsidy from both electricity and fuel is Business Development Manager John Bosco Ezenwa. You're welcome to the show. And financial expert Adejoru Basoro. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, we do have a short excerpt from a statement made by the IMF on subsidy removal, and it says the complete removal of regressive fuel and electricity subsidies is a near-term priority combined with adequate compensatory measures for the poor. Now, of course, the mission also stressed that the government needs to move to a market-based pricing mechanism in early 2022 as stipulated in the 2021 Petroleum Industry Fund. Now, let me turn to my guest. Subsidy removal. This has been something that has been in discussion for a while. As a matter of fact, back in 2020, subsidy was removed briefly. But due to COVID-19 effects, it was brought back eventually. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like the government does need to remove subsidy from fuel? Actually, let's start off the discussion focusing on fuel because it's like the big ticket card right now. So if they remove it from fuel, do you feel like it would really better the economy and also better the masses? Please go ahead.
Okay. Morning again, Chawong. Thanks for this opportunity. Subsidy to be or not to be? The first question is, who benefits from subsidy? That's the first question. I might have to correct one fact that you posited earlier. The government spends 2.9 trillion naira on subsidy of PMS yearly. That gives us a picture of how much we're spending. Now, it's said to benefit the poor. From available data, almost 50% of Nigerians consume only 3% of petroleum products. 50% of Nigerians, that's 110 million people, 100 million people, consume only 3%. So who benefits from this subsidy? That's the question we should ask ourselves. Why are we spending 3 trillion naira yearly for 3% impact on 50%? Do you understand? Do you get the picture? The issue of subsidy, I think, is more of a political thing than economic, because the economic indices are there. They're very plain. I mean, like they say, it's eating in the open sight. The business of subsidy, it's supposed to alleviate impact on people. I mean, let's use you and I. How much of fuel? Where does the impact of this subsidy really hit on the poor? Transportation, majorly, right? Yeah. That's major point of connect. How much is the cost of fuel in the total cost of maintenance of a vehicle? How much?
It's quite a
disparity. It's at 30%. I mean, that's very conservative. So if the transportation we're talking about, which is the direct impact on the poor, the fuel component of it is it's almost passable. Why are we forcing about it? Now, let's look at these figures we put out earlier. 3 trillion naira in perspective. That's how much Nigeria gives from our commonwealth, from money that's supposed to benefit you and I, to pay for 97% of people that doesn't impact on us. Because only 3% are the poor. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, so we have this scenario. The 2022 appropriation bill that is still under is estimated around 16 point something trillion. Put that in perspective. 3 trillion of that is used for subsidy. What are the components of that appropriation bill? Health, which is for all Nigerians, is 820 billion. We're expending 3 trillion on
fuel subsidy alone.
Fuel subsidy alone.
When other sectors are suffering.
It's 1,200 billion. That's about a third of how much we spend on fuel subsidy every year. I mean, health, education, defense combined, they barely beat the 3 trillion mark we're looking at. So what exactly is this thing for? Because obviously it's not for Nigerians. Obviously it's not for the masses that we're talking about. From the World Bank's, the IMF position that about it being for the poor and all that, we can see that subsidy does not impact the poor. The powers that be just use it as a political tool. I mean, I remember in 2011 when there was this brouhaha about subsidy or not to be, a lot of the current sitting leadership of the country were there. Subsidy is a scam. Subsidy, yes, because it is a scam. It's depriving Nigerians of their common wealth. See, you can imagine if they take that 3 trillion and put it in education. Imagine they take that 3 trillion and put it in health. We won't need to go medical tourism.
Yeah.
We won't need to. So, to be or not to be, I think subsidy should have been scrapped a long time ago. It doesn't benefit anybody economically. It's like saying your child wants to aspire to be a medical doctor. And you say, okay, because he has to study 12 hours a day. No, don't study 12 hours, just study 3 hours. Then I will help you study the remaining 9. Whether or not you like it, the child will wake up one day and face qualifying exams. The subsidy will run away. Exactly. The subsidy ran away from 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I remember in the early 90s, there was issue of subsidy or no subsidy. Come on, let the market forces determine what is. See, let the people that are buying this thing, that need it, pay for it. Look at the other sectors. Telecoms, electricity. Look at telecoms, for instance. I remember, growing up in the 70s and 80s, Nigeria had less than 450,000 telephone lines. It was a thing of a status thing. I remember my old telephone number. It was where the big boys. There was only a few of us that had it. A former minister said that the telephone is not for the poor. That was in the early 90s. But that's aside. Now, when we opened up the sector, we had investors come from far and wide. At the beginning, 1 minute, if you remember in 2001, I remember my first purchase of my phone and SIM cost me 42,000 naira.
Oh.
I won't
That was
mention. I
big
won't mention the
money back
network. Then it's still big money now.
My dad was 49,000.
I bought a SIM card in 2001.
Yeah.
I won't mention the network. 21,000.
Many of us know it.
And the Motorola talk about the giant thing that looks like a walkie-talkie for 21,000. Now, to make a call was 15 naira per minute.
Yeah.
15 naira. To make a call. To even receive, I mean, if Chamu was calling me, for there to be a caller ID on my phone showing, it's 1,500 per month. They should charge for that. But when competition came into the sector, what happens?
Everything dropped.
Oh, the beginning was a bit rough. For those who thought they needed it, they paid premium. Who are those that need PMS?
All right, so let's hear from John Bosco. What is your own perspective on this?
Yeah, see, for subsidy to be or not to be, I think it's time subsidy goes, because we're dragging this issue for years. This is on running exactly more than 30 years plus or more. So essentially, we are in for unusual business. Every single sector is in for unusual business. One thing we've seen over time is once you have the talk on subsidy, if the prices of PMS go up, you know that businesses will change. Transportation costs will go high, say for 75%, between 50 to 75%, and stop at 50% increase. We know that every other thing will come up in price. And so when you go asking people why, they say, oh, transport. You see, because we realize that transportation is the social end of things. Transportation is what drives Nigerians. Just mentioned, oh, for us, we think we pay a lot of money moving our goods and our services to you, but it is time that we'll look inward as businesses. I am more particular about entrepreneurs, about the MSMEs and every single person there. Subsidy needs to go so that the tough entrepreneurs will stay put and have businesses improving, because just like my colleagues mentioned, it's important to know that the health sector is neglected. The government is paying about 13,000 naira on subsidy for each Nigerian.
For each Nigerian.
Meanwhile,
the health is
about
3,000 naira.
3,000 naira. So the stats are out there. You see, when we begin to read these things, it's important too that the data analysts and the financial houses help us see this in perspective, because if we don't say, we do not know what the government is doing, because we have a chance currently to have entrepreneurs build that sector, come into that space to play. For example, look at what has happened in the electricity space. Over time, we have technology incorporated. We can buy our data, we can buy airtime, or better still, recharge online. We have people who are innovative coming in. That will happen in all of this sector. Let's not even forget, the oil sector is not just domestic, it's global. Whatever happens in the global space impact on what is happening here. We have hike in price of domestic gas use. It's not just Nigeria; it's everywhere. This needs to be explained. But it's going to be a hard time, really, for every single person in this space. Real hard time. But it is time for real innovators, real players to think about what is going to happen. I'm interested in the numbers. The government is interested in the numbers because the government is looking at how much they can save. IMF is advising yes, because there are a lot of experts in all of the space. Even the economic team, they are seeing, even the government forum, the Nigerian Governor Forum, realize that a lot of money can be saved from all of this. So the government is looking at how much money can be saved to put in other spaces. I'm excited about this in a way, but I know that we are in for unusual business, as the chairman and CEO of the NNPC group has mentioned.
All right, so even with the statement that the IMF made itself when they were talking about removal of subsidy, they talked about making it compensatory for the poor. Has the government really put those things in places so far? Because 2022 is not far away, and we're talking about removing fuel subsidy as early as February, as it stands. So what now happens to the people who will not be able to afford transportation as easily as they could?
Can I shock you? The Nigerian will triumph or flourish in this. See, the truth about it is subsidy is just to pay off a select group of people. Subsidy does not, I repeat, impact on the average Nigerian.
True.
It doesn't. Not as detrimentally as they're trying to position it. Now, IMF comes and says IMF is That's their business. They are lenders to us. I mean, now we go borrow money from them. You know, that's what they. I mean, the good book says the borrower is a slave of the lender.
True.
So whatever they tell you, comply. But let's even be selfish and let's do what's good for Nigeria for once. Who benefits from this subsidy? I can say we talked about the transport. As an entrepreneur, how much of transportation cost is in your cost of doing business? Really, how much? A few months ago, we're all of the opinion, the dollar prices in the world, the dollar exchange rate is what's causing prices of things to go up. Dollar has stabilized for a month. Plus, what's happening? Prices are still going up. Now, government needs to dump that 3 trillion naira, which goes up every year.
Yeah.
Increases every year. I remember the time in this country in the 90s, subsidy was in the billions of naira. I mean, our consumption of PMS, I don't think it has tripled since then. I don't think so. Let's even say it has tripled. We're consuming 3 trillion worth of, we're throwing it down a bottomless pit. That's literally what it is. It's to empower some select group of people, because the impact of subsidy on the average Nigerian is very negligible. If our consumption is just 3% of the total output of petroleum products, then how does it bother us? By the way, you and I know that this subsidy actually is to pay for inefficiencies in running government.
Yeah.
If you look at the petroleum pricing template of PPPRA, you'll be amazed. Someone says there's a demurrage cost, there's NIMASA cost, there's MPA cost, there's docking cost.
Yeah.
Come on, who is MPA, who is NIMASA, who is docking, who are all those people? Government. Someone, I mean, you import this trawlers coming in. They don't just appear out of the blues. Their travel times, the fact they are coming. Why do they have to incur demurrage? Inefficiency. Oh, by the way, let's not even go to the elephant in the room. Why our refinery is not working? Why? I mean, we have
good question.
the reason we are importing because we're not processing locally. That's the reason. So if we are processing locally, we don't need to import. So this subsidy will not even arise. Nigerians are supposed to be benefiting. Right now, the prices of crude in the world market is going up. Winter is coming. So exporters ought to be rejoicing at this point. But no, Nigerians are burning because, one, government is inefficient. We're importing the fuel we're supposed to process it locally. Number two, we're now paying them being the people who, I mean, the unsafe hands that move things. We're paying them for being inefficient twice. Do you get what I'm saying? So, government should take that. There's so many avenues you can improve the lot of the poor. And it's not by giving 5,000.
Yeah.
It's not.
Which was actually the
See,
5,000.
Let's pull out the rabbit from the hat. Let's stop fooling ourselves. Sincerely. Madam Minister, the solution to the problem is not by giving 5,000 to.
All right, so amongst those other solutions that the Minister of Finance, Budget and Planning had stated, that is besides the 5,000 naira that was supposed to be given out to poor households or poor individuals, was creating a transport subsidy. Now, is that something?
We are just
okay, already.
we are turning the wine from bottle A to bottle B. Transport subsidy, any form of subsidy, comes back to bite us. Because subsidies pay for the
subsidy
inefficiencies.
is only supposed to last for a year, by the way. That's on the transportation
if
aspect.
let me say this. Anything they come in the light of social infrastructure and all that, usually because it's not well administered, only goes to a select few.
Yeah.
During the COVID pandemic, there was a talk around that monies were paid into account for the very poor. I mean, I do a lot of things at the bottom of the pyramid. I never, not one person in FCT, Mararaba, Massacre Axis that came out, government gave me X amount, 10,000 that they said. Come on, guys. This is just to fund a few Nigerians at the detriment of the generalities of the people. Subsidy should be thrown away, and we should be serious about the business of governance. We should be serious. We're not the only petroleum exporting country in the world. So why are refineries not working? Why are we paying for the inefficiency of public servants in the case of the pricing model? Why? I think much more deeper questions need to be asked. And answers need to be proffered. What are we funding with the subsidy? Both electricity and and PMS. What are we funding with it? We should look at it and let's take the issues one by one and dissect. Funding, electricity should be thrown away.
Yeah.
If you can't pay, switch off, use candle.
True. I agree completely because I agree completely because we're simply empowering mediocrity again. Given that every time we're doing social investment won't work because the return on the social investment is zero. We've not seen the impact. So who are the poor of the poor? Okay, 30 to 40 million Nigerians will receive transport grant. That's 20% of the population. What's the yardstick for measurement? All we're simply doing now, we need to be serious about this. So government is concerned, there'll be a lot of tree felling, people are going to go cut down trees to do their cookings on things, or climate change issue. True, we know, but entrepreneurs, real innovators are looking at this opportunity. We're looking deeply and saying, we can solve this issue. A lot of companies are springing up in the green space and technology space, trying to solve these issues. Don't forget, even when they hike in electricity tariff, a lot of innovators are thinking of, how can we cut this cost and all of that. So it's happening. For me, I am looking at this knowing that it is truly time it's an unusual time, an unusual business for every single person in the space. Nigerians are strong, we'll come out of this, but we need the government to start making real political and economic issues, not dancing around all of this. Because the more we spend time on subsidy, the more we are making just the 1% of the population rich, extremely rich. And that is not fair if a certain population, a certain group of people are reaping on the back of so much people who are going down the drain. Because the truth of the matter is that a lot of resources, we're talking over 3 trillion. That's a whole lot. Look at the budget. You know how much you can save. You know, I'm deeply concerned about our education. What are we doing? What are the innovations happening? There has government funding, though we know that a lot is happening with PTDF and the rest of them, but that is little, because on the daily we have Nigerians go to every embassy. Nigerians are leaving in drove. This is brain drain. We're not really saying we are bringing in bringing in revenue back to the country. Yes, for government it's a brag, but no, we're losing on all ends. Let us go into this. We're ready. Let's put our feet in the water. Nigerians are ready, I tell you. If you're increasing the fuel price, we'll know for a while real players will come in. The modular refineries are kicking off soon. We're excited. We're seeing photos, we're seeing pictures, we're seeing videos. They're coming up. We want to see what that will add. That's all I can say for now, because given where we're heading to, let's stop dancing around all of this. Let's just get into it. By next year, you're telling us this. It's good. Government is informing us. We're all getting ready. Awareness is there. So what about cushioning the effect? Has government organized our transportation sector?
Well, that is the question that I was, actually going to throw out when I was talking about the transportation subsidy, is the fact that, we've not really seen anything to, step up and replace that the moment that this, subsidy is removed, especially from fuel. What is now going to be the replacement for the masses? Because obviously cost of transportation is going to increase, cost of manufacturing is going to increase.
Can I ask a question? A few years ago, we had the Shopee project. Who remembers that?
Yes.
A major part of the funding that came through that project was on transportation.
Yes.
It was also improved transportation infrastructure.
True.
What happened? See, we're chasing that same ghost again. We're chasing, like the dogs do, chase their tails around, just keep running around, and nothing comes out of it. See, if you're going to do real economic impact, there are places where people need support. Create infrastructure, economic infrastructure it is. See, what improves the economy of a nation and their well-being is MSMEs. Look for ways to solve their problems. Transport is not one of them. Water will always find its level, as they say. Sincerely, water will always... By the time you look at why why is it that things improve? Investors will not come into a sector until except they find it attractive.
Yeah.
Why would I want to come into petroleum and make prices cheaper if somebody is there paying off someone at the back? Why? Why would I want to come into electricity if there is a cabal or a seeming monopoly that cannot be broken up because government is backing some people?
Yeah.
I mean, the electricity sector is to me is a joke. We supposedly privatized Nigeria's commonwealth, gave it to a few people who were not competent or capable of managing it, who didn't have the resources or who didn't want to deploy the resources they said they had. Because I know that process was very competitive. I was involved in the process of the breaking down of the electricity sector. That's number one. Number two, they came on supposedly having bought, was it 49% of the of discos
49.
and gencos, and yet after a few years, they ran cap in hand to come to us, to come and collect money from us after having taken it from us. I mean, it's like a businessman who's in business to make money now goes to meet his customer. Please give me money so that I can sell to you. Hello, whose responsibility is that? So in this whole subsidy matter, the most important factor is government sincerity.
True.
All right. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time to continue the discussion. But yes, like we said, to remove or not to remove, but the verdict seems to be to remove, because we do have a lot more to gain if subsidy is removed, because it frees up trillions of naira that could actually be placed in different sectors of the country. All right. So I'd like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much for coming today. And to all our viewers out there, pardon me, thank you so much for watching. Do remember to follow us on all social media platforms. Just look us up on TrustTV News. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to drop us a comment. Once again, my name is Chamunda Beng. Come back tomorrow for more Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.